Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Game News Roundup. Today we are focused on the latest VGChartz estimates for the month of February 2023. Now that all the data has come out that we collect each month, and we've got all of the weeks of February posted, February 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th week endings of those dates. So worldwide for the month, PS5 was the best-selling console, unsurprising, looking at how sales were coming in, which Japan, then Europe came in, then finally the America's data came in. It's like, yep, nope, PS5 number 1, Switch number 2, Series X and S number 3, and PS4 number 4, but it's just whatever stock is left is what is being sold. So worldwide, PS5 with 1.76 million units sold, Switch 948,000 units sold, Series X and S 527,000 units, PS4 about 17,000 units for the month worldwide. In North America, we got about 600,000 for the PS5, 350,000 for the Switch, 291,000 for the Series X and S. In Europe, our estimates have PS5 at about 426,000 units, Switch at 195,000, Series X and S at 117,000. In Japan, PS5 stock went crazy and sales were really strong in Japan. 367,000 PS5 sold in Japan, 221,000 Switches sold, and just a hair under 26,000 Series X and S's sold for the month in Japan. And again, these are our estimates, and when more data does become available in the future, when Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft release their quarterly earnings, or when some reports that we only get like once a year and whatnot, we do adjust our estimates to be more accurate. So yes, these are estimates to give us a decent picture of where sales are, but they are generally, there is a margin of error with our estimates. Lifetime sales, we got the Switch, 122.77 million units. Again, is the third best-selling video game platform of all time, behind the DS and PS2, which are over 150 million units sold each, so it's going to be a bit before the Switch reaches them, or if it even does reach them, as sales are dropping year over year, as we'll be seeing when we get into the bigger breakdown. PS5 lifetime sales are about 33.5 million estimated sold, and the Series X and S, we got about 20.8 million units sold as of the end of February, or February 25th, 2023. And again, if you want to check out the breakdown, if you want to see the sales of each of the specific weeks, go to the front page of VGChartz, and you can check out the full breakdown of our estimates there. So going to the breakdown article, we always start with the best-selling console, how much it sold lifetime, and then going down the current sales of the latest month, followed by lifetime sales. And now, generation over generation. So PS5 compared to the same month for the PS4, and Xbox Series X and S compared to the same month for the Xbox One, which for the last gen consoles will be February 2016. So the PS5 has been tracking behind the PS4 mainly because of all the stock shortages. But in the most recent month, it did close the gap by quite a bit. We still got a ways to go, mind you, but if it consistently closes the gap, I can see maybe by the end of the year, early next year, the gap, the PS5 catching up to the PS4, but we'll see how sales hold up over the coming months, see how much pent-up demand there is for the PS5, and how much stock remains for the PS5. So yeah, PS5 compared to the same month for the PS4 closed the gap by nearly 769,000 units in 1 month. Basically, the sales we've seen for the PS5, practically like holiday sales. Absolutely insane. Xbox Series X and S sales, while they are well in third place, it is still ahead of the Xbox One. So it is still growing its lead over the Xbox One by over 113,000 units when you look at the difference in sales between the two consoles for the same equivalent month. Mind you, the Xbox Series X and S sales were pretty lackluster during the holiday season. Yeah, there was a boost, but it wasn't a huge boost. And the gap, they actually did shrink. The Xbox One did catch up to the Series X and S over the holidays, but the gap has now increased slightly in February. So yeah. So year over year sales, PS5 sales are up absolutely insane percentages. I mean, sales, like, shortages were absolutely really bad in the first half of 2022, especially in the first quarter of 2022. January, February, March sales were really low for the PS5. So PS5 sales year over year are up by 1.39 million units, or 369.7%. Or what is that, 4.7 times increase where they were a year ago. Switch sales are down year over year by about 31.1%, or 428,000 units. Series X and S sales are pretty much flat year over year, just down 0.4% or 2,000 units. So pretty much flat, just down a hair. Again, with the margin of error, it's hard to say where things might be adjusted when more data does come in. And PS4 sales are down 24,000 units, or 58%. At this point, I mean, Sony's got about 117.2 million PS4 shipped, so this is just what stock is left available, and we'll see, where things are by the end of the year. If we get to that 117.2 million by the end of the year, we'll probably stop tracking it, as we've caught up to the lifetime shipment figures from Sony. Month-on-month sales. PS5 sales compared to January, so February compared to January, are up by over 500,000 units. And Series X and S sales are up by nearly 67,000 units. And the Switch sales are down by nearly 187,000 units month on month. Mind you, it's to be expected. Switch sales are expected to be on the decline with how old it is at this point. In 2023 sales, year to date, we've got the PS5 has sold an estimated 3.03 million units, Switch at 2.08 million units, and the Series X and S at 0.99 million units sold for the month. So adding to this, March sales. Series X stock is looking even worse in March, so I wouldn't be surprised if Series X and S sales are down month over month in March compared to February, despite March being a 5-week month versus a 4-week month in February. If you're wondering, there are 52 weeks in a year, versus 12 months, and if it was 4 weeks a month, that'd be 48 weeks. So 4 months get that extra week added in, which for us, we usually like to follow what NPD does. So March, June, September, and December, we like to add the 5th week consistently, so you get a good year-over-year change in sales to know where things are going. So yeah, PS5 stock is looking to be even better in March, at least in Europe and in the US, looking at the bit of data we do have. So I wouldn't be surprised if this, had sold 1.76 million units sold in February. I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher than that by a decent amount, even potentially getting across 2 million units. Also, the fact that it's 5 weeks versus 4 weeks. Even though we do have Japan sales data, and sales are actually down in Japan in March over those 5 weeks than they are in February. But things are showing that sales should be higher in March in Europe and the US and probably most of the Americas compared to February. So I wouldn't be surprised if sales are at 2 million to bring sales for just 3 months, what is one of the slower quarters of the year, January, February, March, to 5 million sold. Mind you, Sony does have a target of, I think it had to be 6.2 million units shipped for the quarter. Mind you, ship does not equal sell. It takes sell-through. It does take several weeks, potentially over a month, depending on where you are shipping the consoles, and then by the time they get to the warehouses and they get shipped out to retailers and all that stuff, it takes time for that to happen. And with Sony shipping so many more, there's a lot more consoles in transit, so the gap between sold and shipped is going to be bigger than it has been this entire generation for the PS5. And plus, at least from what I'm seeing, there's actually PS5 stock available in stores, and it's not selling out like it used to. Basically, it's in store shelves. By the end of the day, they were sold. Now they're not selling out as fast as they are now that there's a lot more stock, and some of the demand that has been pent up over the 2.5 years at this point is starting to be met a bit. But I'm still expecting PS5 sales to remain really strong for the rest of the year. And potentially be a record-setting year for PlayStation in terms of sales. For the amount of PlayStations for single console sold in one single year. Do I think it might catch up to set a record for video game consoles? It's hard to say. The DS, I think, was over 30 million in 1 or 2 years of sales. So we'll see how strong sales remain. If sales remain as strong as they have been, yeah, sure. Potentially we might be seeing 30 million PS5 sold, but I would think more in the low 20s. It seems more realistic for PS5. Obviously depends on stock and how much pent-up demand there actually is. So I wouldn't be, I'm thinking 20 million minimum at this year looking at how sales have been. Potentially 21, 22, 23 million. High-end maybe 25 million. But of course, we will see. This is just my guesses, predictions, whatever you want to call it. So we'll see how things go. And Series X and S sales, I expect it to be flat or down year over year for at least, definitely in March for sure, and maybe even April, maybe we'll see in May. The true test with Xbox, because sales weren't that great last holiday, is how Starfield's going to do in September. As the main thing, there were no big first-party games for Xbox last year. This year, I mean, we got Redfall in May, which might move some consoles. I don't expect it to move a lot. Starfield is like, that is a console sell. That is the biggest, one of the biggest first-party games by Xbox, you know. As big as, probably at this point, we expect it's even bigger than Halo, even though it is a new IP. But we'll see. That is the true test to see what these stronger first-party games will do to Xbox sales, how much of an improvement it does when it comes out in September. Although I wouldn't be surprised if some people wanted to get an Xbox for Starfield before they bought the Xbox. So we'll see how much of a boost we do get in September in this holiday season with the stronger lineup. Especially compared to last year, because Xbox had no big first-party titles. I mean, they had a few smaller ones. But this year, I mean, we got Redfall. I'll get Minecraft Legends, but that is multi-platform, so I wouldn't really say that as a system. Obviously, a Redfall, Starfield, Forza Motorsport. Was supposed to come out in the first half of this year, but considering in the most recent direct, they just said 2023, so probably October or November, wouldn't be surprised. And then we'll see what else there is. But those are probably the big 3 games coming out this year from first-party-wise from Xbox. First-party studios, and obviously PlayStation, they're probably their biggest IP at this point. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 comes out this fall, I believe. So we'll see. And then Switch, we got Tears of the Kingdom in May. I wouldn't be surprised if how much Switch sales are down by a lot less in May, or maybe even flat or up in May. Well, for most of this year, it'll probably be consistently down 20 to 30%. I wouldn't be surprised, you know. But estimated, again, sales-wise, PS5 20 million at the low end, 25 million at the high end. Series X and S, I'm thinking a bit better than last year, despite sales being down, just because of Starfield and the stronger lineup of games. So maybe like 10 million or so for Series X and S sold. For this year, maybe 11 million tops. I think 10 to 11 million probably seems the most likely. And Switch sales probably continue to decline, so maybe 15 to 16 million Switches sold this year, which is still great sales considering how old it is. So I'm thinking like, where would sales be by the end of the year? PS5 should be over 50 million by the end of this year, no problem, unless somehow shortages happen again. Switch will probably be at 135, 137 million or so, and Series X and S probably around 30 million at the end of the year. Now, I've always been asked, like, where do I think sales will be at the end of the generation? Who do I think is going to win? I mean, I guess you say between PlayStation and Xbox. I'd say PlayStation, no problem, is going to win. Going into this generation, I kind of figured PlayStation will still win. I just thinking this would be somewhat closer than it was last generation. The PS4 having sold about 117 million compared to the Xbox One's around 51 million. Which, yeah, so it's an over 2-to-1 gap, while this generation, with the stronger first-party lineup of games, not including Activision Blizzard, who knows what's going to happen with that, although Call of Duty should at least remain multi-platform. I'm sure most of the games will remain multi-platform, but I'm thinking like 60 to 70 million for the Xbox Series X and S lifetime, compared to, again, the Xbox One, which is the low 50s of millions. Mind you, that is still behind the Xbox 360, which sold, like 85 or so million lifetime. And then the PS5, I'm thinking 110, maybe a little bit below PS4, worst case scenario, 110 million, maybe even a little bit better than PS4, 120 million, 125 million sold. Which does mean this might be the first PlayStation and Xbox generation, whatever you want to consider, excluding Nintendo. We might actually see an increase in sales. Just because more people will want to own both consoles than in previous generation due to the strong first-party lineup and exclusives for both consoles. So we'll see how things go. Again, the PS4 and Xbox One, I'm trying to think the math-wise, it's like 168, 170 million. So I wouldn't be surprised if the current generation, PS5 and Series X and S, ends up 175, 180, 190 million sold combined. But we'll see how things go over the coming years, how sales are going. It's still relatively early in this generation, and I expect this generation to last a year or two longer than the previous generations by the time we get to the PS6 and I don't know what my Xbox does with their names of consoles. I mean, I guess Nintendo, you never know either. The Series X2 and the S3, I don't know. The Xbox 5, be the 5th generation? Yeah, be the 5th generation of Xboxes, so I don't know. Anyways, that's enough of me rambling. If you've enjoyed me going over the latest VGChartz estimates for February 2023 and me laying out some general guesses / predictions, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time for some more gaming sales, gaming news, and other topics about the gaming industry. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.